Hey everyone, today we're going to be learning about graphing form of quadratics. So far we've learned about standard form, so that should look familiar to you. The equation for standard form is y equals a times x squared plus b times x plus c. That's something that you should be really familiar with because that is the format of the sum of quadratics that we've been using, and then we're taking them by factoring and putting them as a product. Today we're going to be doing graphing form, which basically is just rearranging that standard form, and it is able to tell us different things. So you're not actually going to be rearranging into graphing form today, or from standard form to graphing form. We're going to be doing that sometime next week, learning a process called completing the square. But what we are going to be doing today is we are going to be looking at this graphing form, and we are going to be figuring out how we can use it in order to graph points of a quadratic on a graph without having to search for the vertex and all of that good stuff. So we call this graphing form. It is also known as vertex form. The reason that it's also known as vertex form is because when you look at an equation in graphing form, you can look at it and find the vertex just by glancing at the equation. All right, so unlike standard form where we have to search for that vertex, we can just look at the equation and find it. Okay, I think it's going to make more sense when I'm not using letters. Instead, I'm using the actual equation. I will put this slide, though, that you're looking at today into your slides for tomorrow so you can look back at the formula when you are working through IXL. Okay, so I took some problems right from IXL today, so hopefully it will help you in solving those. The first one that we're going to do is this. Now, we're not actually going to graph them on here. I'm going to quickly go through 3 different examples, and we are basically going to find the vertex of each of these, and then IXL wants you to find one other point. All right, so in graphing form, in order to find the vertex, I am looking to see where h and k are, because remember, we had y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. That's graphing form. This right here, the number that's in parentheses with the x, that is the x value of our vertex. The k is the y value of our vertex. That's the number on the outside. Now you're probably thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense, Mrs. Cornell, because we just have 3x squared. You're right, we're missing a lot of that stuff. So you could think of it in a couple different ways. If I just have f of x is equal to 3x squared, I can think of that as, well, I don't have anything being added or subtracted to my x value, so that means that my vertex, my x value, is 0. Same thing here. I have nothing on the outside that is being added or subtracted for my y value, so that means the y value of my vertex is 0. So that's one of the 2 points that you're going to need for your, in order to graph today on IXL. After you have 1 point, then all you need to do is pick a value to put in for x and figure out what y would be for your second point. So your x value, you could put 1 in. If you put 1 in for x, you would have 3 times 1 squared. 1 squared obviously is 1 times 3 is 3. So your other point that you would graph is 1, 3. So in IXL, they have you clicking on the point 0, 0, and then they have you moving over to 1, 3, and then they'll actually draw the rest of the parabola for you today. You don't have to draw any other ones. You just need to do those 2. Okay? The second level up, once you go up a level, again, you are still remembering the same recording. You are still doing y is equal to I'm writing standard form. Y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k, where this is our vertex. And again, we've got nothing that's in parentheses for our x value, so that means that the x value of our vertex is 0. However, this time is different because on the outside right here, we are subtracting 2. So that means that our value is going down 2 for our y value of our vertex, okay? So right here would be a -2. So our vertex would be 0, -2. Then we need one other point. So again, I like 1 just because it's easy to put in for x. So if x is equal to 1, 1 squared minus 2, 1 minus 2 is equal to negative 1. So my y value would be a negative 1. 1, negative 1. Those are the only 2 points today. Normally you would need 3 points to graph. However, in IXL today, they're asking you only to do 2. This next problem, I think, is probably the most important because it actually has the full problem in standard form, or I'm sorry, in graphing or vertex form. That is going to make some sense. Oops, I'm going to pause this because I've got people walking in. Okay, sorry about that. So our form that we are using, graphing form, y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Remember that our vertex is hk. So if I have an equation in this format, I look inside parentheses with our x value, our x, and that is going to be the x value or the h of our vertex. So right here we have a negative 5. Because we have a negative h, that means we actually need to take the opposite of whatever is in parentheses with the x. So our vertex would be the opposite of negative 5, which is 5, because you always take the opposite of what's in parentheses with x, and then whatever is on the being added to the outside, that is our k value. It would be 7. So our vertex is 5, 7. Now, they're going to ask you for one other point. In order to find one other point, you need to put a number in for x. The number that I would use for x is 1 on either side of the vertex, just because I think it's easiest. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 6 in for x because that is to the right of the vertex. So 6 minus 5, I'm going to square it and add 7. It also makes the math easy because it equals 1. 1 squared is 1. Negative 4 times 1 is going to, and then we're going to add 7, sorry. Negative 4 plus a positive 7. That means that my y value is going to be a, not negative, how about a positive 3? So my other point that I'm going to graph is going to be a 6, positive 3. Okay, so hopefully this video helps, guys. Join us for Google Meets today if you still have questions. Also, please, please, please click on the Learn by Examples on IXL. Super helpful in walking through all this. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.